From ABC News, 2020 continues. Once again, Barbara Walters.
It is one of the most bizarre medical mysteries in recent memory, and doctors still can't explain it. It happened 2 weeks ago in a Southern California emergency room. A team of medical workers collapsed, apparently after inhaling fumes.
Sean got a good break on it. Fortunate enough, we scored.
Then they scored again at the Lions 31. Wayne Larrabee called it like this on WGN Radio.
2-yard line, and McMahon back to throw. Dumps it up the middle. Wide open McMahon. Running left to the 20, to the 15, to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown!
McMahon and McKinnon, 14-0 Bears. Then the defense, which hadn't put up a sack in 12 quarters, finally did. If you're wondering what's happened, so am I. Actually, the computer that we have running our news from time to time took off and went.
Ah, you're here. Right on time. You know, most people avoid stories like these. Too strange. Too unsolvable. But you came looking. You want the tales that don't fit in neat little boxes. The ones that whisper behind closed doors and rattle in dusty attics. You want what lies beneath the surface. I'm the archivist. I keep the stories that the world forgets or refuses to believe. Faded files, whispered confessions, and truths that don't behave. Like tonight's entry. A pair of twin girls born 1 year after a tragedy. Carrying the memories and the marks of sisters they never met. Reincarnation? Coincidence? Or something far stranger? You decide, but tread carefully, because in this place, the line between what's real and what's remembered isn't always clear. And once you start looking into the unexplained, sometimes it starts looking back. Let's begin.
May 5th, 1957, Hexham, England. A Sunday morning. Joanna, 11, and Jacqueline, 6, Pollock set off for church. Then tragedy struck. A speeding car hit them both. They died instantly, mere blocks away from home. 1 year later, their parents, John and Florence, lost everything, and then something unimaginable returned. In October 1958, Florence gave birth. Not one, but two babies, Gillian and Jennifer, identical twins. But these babies weren't ordinary twins. Jennifer was born with a birthmark on her hip, just where Jacqueline had one, and another mark on her forehead mirroring her sister's childhood scar. Coincidence? Maybe, until their memories began. At around age 2, the twins At around age 2, the twins started asking for Joanna and Jacqueline's old toys. They named them Mary and Susan, the exact names their sisters had used. And when their father unveiled the attic toys, the twins didn't just recognize them, they insisted they owned them before. They could also describe Hexham streets the sisters had walked. They asked to visit a local amusement park their older sisters loved, and when they returned years later, they navigated there as if they'd been there before. Dr. Ian Stevenson, a psychologist known for studying reincarnation, studied the two twins from 1964 to 1985, and he noted how naturally the memories and personalities emerged. These weren't rehearsed stories or learned behaviour. The girls responded with a fear at crossing the street. "The car is coming," they'd cry. Echoes of an accident none of them had ever lived through. By age 5, the memories faded, wiped away as mysteriously as they appeared. So what do we make of this? Reincarnation? A spirit returning? Psychology? Cryptamnesia? Hidden memories passed on through the family? Extraordinary coincidence, maybe? A remarkable alignment of faith? Whatever the answer is, the Pollock Twins case is a chilling reminder. We glimpse just at a sliver of reality. Beneath it, something deeper and stranger may lie, waiting. Stay curious, stay open, because sometimes the world doesn't follow the rules we expect. Riverside, California, February 19th, 1994. Just before 8:15 p.m, a woman named Gloria Ramirez was brought into the emergency room. She was 31. She was dying. Late-stage cervical cancer. Her heart was beating irregularly. She was confused, disoriented, barely conscious. But then, something strange happened. As doctors and nurses tried to stabilize her, one of them noticed an odd, fruity smell coming from her mouth. Then her skin, oily, glossy, almost unnatural. A nurse inserted a needle to draw blood, and the room shifted. The syringe smelled like ammonia. The blood had floating particles, manila-coloured, dense. Before anyone could say anything, not a word, a nurse had collapsed. Then another, and another. In all, 6 people fell ill that night. Some fainted, some couldn't move their limbs. One had to be hospitalized for 2 weeks. All from being near Gloria. The hospital was evacuated, hazmat teams were called in, and just 45 minutes after she arrived, Gloria Ramirez died. So what happened? She became known across the news outlets as the Toxic Lady. A woman whose very presence in death seemed poisonous. Investigators explored every angle. Was it a chemical reaction from her cancer meds? Was it dimethyl sulfur oxide she might have been using to ease the pain? A solvent that, under the right conditions, could theoretically transform into a toxic gas? Or was it mass hysteria? A sociogenic illness triggered by fear? That was the official conclusion, but even now, it doesn't quite explain the symptoms. Not fully. No foul play, no toxins confirmed, just a woman, a hospital room, and a chain reaction that science still struggles to explain. The case of Gloria Ramirez is more than unsolved, it's unresolved. An ordinary person, a tragic death, and a moment where reality twisted just slightly into something it shouldn't have been. Whatever the answer, Gloria left a question behind, and no one really answered it. Chicago, November 22nd, 1987. A quiet Sunday night, until, without warning, something slipped through the static. 9:14 p.m. WGN TV, the 9 o'clock news, is midway broadcast when suddenly the screen cuts to static. Then it reappears, A figure wearing a max headroom mask jerks and sways in front of the sheet of congregated metal. No sound at first, only a sharp mechanical buzz. After about 25 seconds, the station regains control. The anchor returns, visibly confused. He states, "Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I." But it didn't just end there. Roughly 2 hours later, during a broadcast of Doctor Who on PBS affiliate show, the signal is hijacked again. This time, it's worse. The masked figure is back, but now he speaks. His voice is disoriented, mocking, like a warped cartoon. He references the local news anchors, corporate slogans, and vintage shows like Clutch Cargo. He waves a can of Pepsi and mumbles strange phrases. "I can see the X. Catch the wave." Then, without warning, the tone changes. The video cuts, the screen wobbles, and then in its final moments something uncomfortable plays out. The intruder begins to perform what can only be described as a crude parody. They're shouting, a second person appears, profane gestures, a fly swatter, and something weirdly suggestive. It feels chaotic, deliberately vulgar, almost as if the mask wasn't just hiding a face, but a breakdown happening in real time. Then, static. The hijack lasted 90 seconds. The FCC launched an investigation. Both WGN and WTTW had been targeted, each with different transmitter locations. That meant the intruder knew what he was doing. To override those frequencies, you need technical skill, specialized equipment, and planning. And yet, no one was ever caught. No arrests, no confirmed people, not even a credible claim of responsibility. Was it just a prank taken too far, a political statement, or a glimpse into something more fractured, more personal? The Max Headroom incident remains one of the most disturbing broadcast intrusions ever recorded. Not because of what was said, but because of what was never explained. It showed us something no broadcaster would ever want to admit. The signal can be hijacked, and when it is, we don't always get it back the same. Deeper beneath the surface, where the sunlight disappears and pressure crushes, there's a region that we call the Midnight Zone. And in 1997, something down there made a sound. In the summer of that year, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or the NOAA, picked up something strange. NOAA is a US government agency that monitors the oceans and atmospheres. Among many tools, it operates a network of underwater microphones called hydrophones, designed to listen to the sounds of the deep sea. And one day, far off from the coast of Chile, those microphones detected something they weren't expecting. A low, rumbling sound, powerful and rising, like a deep moan, travelling through the miles of water. It was so loud, it was picked up by sensors more than 3,000 kilometers apart. They named it simply the bloop. At the time, it baffled scientists. Its signature, how it started low and swept up in pitch. It was consistent with the sound profile of a living creature. But here's the unsettling part. If that were true, it would have come from something larger than any known animal on Earth. Larger than the blue whale. And so began the mystery. Some wondered if it was a previously undiscovered sea creature. Others speculated about classified submarines. There were even early internet whispers of Cthulhu, a fictional sea god whose mystic city of Really sits eerily close to the bloop's recorded location. But science kept listening, and in 2012, 15 years later, NOAA released a conclusion. The bloop, they said, wasn't alive at all. It was a sound of ice, specifically massive icebergs cracking and splitting apart, an event known as icequake. This made sense. The southern Pacific, especially around Antarctica, is home to the most enormous glaciers. When they shift or break, the energy release can be intense, and it matches the bloop sound. Even the location lined up. A region near Cape Adare, at the edge of the frozen continent. So that's it, right? Case closed. Well, maybe. Because while the icequake theory fits, the story of the bloop refuses to fully fade. It tapped into something deeper, the mystery of the deep ocean, the tension between what we know and what might still be down there beneath 5 miles of pressure and darkness. We didn't hear a monster, but we did hear something ancient, powerful, and invisible. And that might be something even more terrifying, because in the deep, everything sounds like it could be alive. Our next mystery hides in plain sight, scattered across the digital sprawl of the internet. In January 2012, anonymous messages began appearing online, cryptic, minimalist, and signed with one name, 3301. The posts were puzzles, but not ordinary ones. They used hidden images, codes, and obscure literary references. And at the centre of it all, one challenge: find me, if you can. They called themselves Cicada 3301, and what followed would become one of the most elaborate and enigmatic internet puzzles ever created. Each year, beginning on January 4th, a new wave of clues appeared, and these weren't confined to cyberspace. Solvers were led to real-world coordinates, places in Europe, South Korea, South America, where posters were physically pasted on lampposts with QR codes. Others were directed to rare books, coded messages buried in literature, and even phone calls to forgotten landlines. This was not a game you could brute force. It required deep knowledge of cryptography, steganography, sorry about my pronunciation on these, philosophy, and patience. And yet, the question always remained, who was behind it? Some believed it was a recruitment tool for government agencies, the CIA, NSA, or MI6, seeking elite minds. Others thought it might be a cyber cult, a secret society, or simply a high-level art project, pushing through the limits of digital mystery. Despite many solvers reaching various milestones, no one ever confirmed what happened after. There was no public announcement, no known reward, no verifiable ending, and in 2017, after years of silence, a final message appeared. Cicada officially denied all further activity. No more puzzles, no more clues, just silence. The Washington Post once called Cicada 3301 the most elaborate and mysterious puzzle of the internet age. Others placed it among the top unsolved online mysteries of all time. And even now, more than a decade later, no one knows who started it, or what their end game was. If the internet has its own underworld, this is it. A labyrinth of ghost signals and unseen architects. Cicada 3301 came without warning and left without a trace. August 1966. On a rainy hill in Brazil, a young boy flying a kite made a grim discovery. Two men lay side by side in the grass. Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel Jose Viana. The scene was puzzling. Both men wore neat suits and waterproof coats, and strangely, lead masks shaped like swimming goggles covering their eyes. Nearby were some damp towels and an empty water bottle. No signs of violence, no blood, no trauma. They had simply died. The only clue was a small notebook. Inside, a cryptic message written in Portuguese. 4:30 p.m. Be at the specified location. 6:30. Ingest the capsules. After the effect, protect metals. Await signal. Mask. What did it mean? The words capsule and signal still haunt those who study the case. Some believe the men were involved in an occult ritual, perhaps attempting contact with extraterrestrial or higher beings. Others think it was a scientific experiment gone terribly wrong. One chilling theory suggests the capsules were poison, and the instruction to protect metals refers to their lead masks, used as shielding during some unknown process. If true, they may have poisoned themselves, waiting for a signal that never came. But to this day, no one knows why. No one knows what signal they awaited. The official investigation? It simply concluded the deaths were unexplainable. No witnesses, no survivors, no confession. Just 2 men, 2 deaths, and a few cryptic notes. This is the lead mask case, a true enigma of the depths of history. And at the bottom of this iceberg, the line between reality and legends blur. Nothing here is really comfortable. Nothing easy. From rural England to haunted hospitals, from hijacked TV signals to the darkest oceans, and now to secret cult-like rituals. Each layer has revealed deeper shadows. True or embellished, these stories serve as a modern folklore. They warn us there are corners of the world yet to still be explored. Questions with no answers. Reality is vast, and what we think we know is always just the tip of the iceberg. The deeper we go, the darker it becomes. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and whatever you do, sleep with the lights on.